Hi everybody, welcome to Ecodriver. My name is Helmut and today we take the Ford Focus 1.0 out on our Ecodriver consumption test. The engine delivers 74 kilowatts, 100 horsepower. It's a 3-cylinder, 1-liter engine, and the weight of the car is 1,328 kilograms. Consumption according to WLTP is 5.4 liters per 100 kilometers. And if you have a look at the Sprit Monitor DE, which is a website where users can fill in their real-life consumptions, we see a range between 5.6 and 6.7 liters per 100 kilometers with an average of 6.2. This car has a 6-speed gearbox, and the rather small engine it's a similar engine that we have with the Ford Puma. I think it's even the same engine, and I'm not a fan of small engines, but we see what we can do. With the Ford Puma we had 4.7 liters per 100 kilometers. Given that this car is about 100 kilograms heavier, it might be a bit more, but I still think we can stay below 5.0 liters per 100 kilometers. The route we are taking, we are going this loop I show you here. It's 75 kilometers, 46 miles long. It starts with an uphill section of about 6 kilometers that elevates us around 360 meters, around 1100 feet. What follows are some rolling hills, 6 kilometers, and a 6-kilometer descent, which brings us back to the altitude we started. This gives us already an indication of where we will end up with the consumption of this car. Then we have 18 kilometers of open road with we go through the villages. It's typical for this part of the world. Then 17 kilometers of motorway, and I have to warn you, it's restricted to 100 kilometers an hour because we are not in Germany. And at the end we do 17 kilometers in city traffic. At the end of every section we look at the overall and sectoral consumption, and at the end of the trip we analyze the whole trip. So I hope you enjoy the trip, the nice weather. It's freezing cold out there, 7 degrees Celsius. But with combustion engines or with pure ICE vehicles, that shouldn't really be a problem, as the heat produced by the engine is used to warm up the interior of the car, whereas if you don't heat the interior, the coolant needs to work, and that costs energy, so that doesn't make any difference. The only thing that might be a problem is that if it's that cold, the start-stop automatic of the car doesn't work, but we'll see that later on. So, enjoy the trip, have fun, and see you later. We are now here at the end of the uphill section, and we see 9.7 liters per 100 kilometers. You may have noticed that I always kept the engine revs down, because there was simply no need for high revs. And when do I need high revs? When I need a lot of power, and the power was sufficient for driving up here within the legal limits, speed limit, and the limits of common sense, and so therefore there was no need to rev up higher than 2000 RPMs. Some may say yeah, low revs are bad for the engine, and that's not good, and it destroys the engine or damages the engine. No, it doesn't. If it's bad for the engine will tell you. If it starts shaking and you don't have any power, you do not accelerate, then just shift back, and then you have enough power. And as we know, high revs are the main reason for high consumption, and also you have with lower revs, and if you press the accelerator pedal fully to the ground, then you get a really high load, and a high load means the burning process of the fuel is more efficient, in addition to having a lower consumption anyway caused by the low revs. Here on the hilly section, try to avoid accelerating on the up. What I do is when it's going uphill, I try to at a maximum keep the speed or slightly reduce the speed, except there is a good reason for accelerating, because I need to overtake somebody or so. But it's always good, just do it like a roller coaster. On the up, get a bit slower, and when it gets down, just keep it rolling. And if you have the car in gear, which you should, then you don't use any fuel, as the injection is cut off when the car is driving the engine. Coming to the end of the hilly section now, and we see here 7.2 liters per 100 kilometers. You've seen on the hills on the way up, I slightly reduced the speed, and just when I reached the top, most of the times I shifted into the next gear, because for accelerating then we have enough power with the next gear, and so we could do this very efficiently. Now on the way down, I try to use the injection cutoff mode most of the time. There are two flatter sections, or two flat sections. One is a bit longer, the other one is quite short. I try to pass them without using any fuel, actively using any fuel. It might well be that I step on the clutch in order to make better use of the momentum that I build up. I try to get into the flat sections with a bit of momentum, build up a little bit speed before, and just use this momentum to pass the flat section. It of course depends on the other traffic. Might well be that we have other cars in front of us that are not driving so economically, or a bus or a lorry. So yeah, we'll see. We're coming to the end of the descent, and when we stop here we see 5.1 liters per 100 kilometers. The bus in front of us has stopped at the bus stop just in the middle of the flat section, so that cost us a lot of momentum. We had to re-accelerate again. yeah, this cost us a bit in efficiency, but hey, that's real life. We do a real life test, and it is what it is. We're now coming on to the open road section, where we have some, we go through some villages and small towns. It's a typical non-motorway road for this part of the world. So we're coming to the end of the open road section, and we see here 4.6 liters per 100 kilometers. We're now coming to the motorway, and we have a restriction of 100 kilometers an hour on here. This is some kind of environmental law which the local authorities can apply if you're in a sensitive region. Like here we have a valley, very densely populated, so we have here 100 kilometers an hour. So we're coming to the end of the motorway. Look at the scenery. Isn't that fantastic? Yeah, here at the sign we have 4.5 liters per 100 kilometers. That's a bit of a surprise, I have to admit. I had the Ford Puma a couple of weeks ago with basically the same engine, and we had 4.6 here. I'm relying on the board computer with a consumption. There might be some differences between the real consumption and what the board computer tells us, but I have a source. It's called Spritmonitor. I've talked about this earlier, where I can you can enter the details of your fueling and also what the board computer said, so I will find out that later on. When it comes to city traffic, the most important thing is to keep the car in motion. Try to avoid accelerating from a standstill, as this requires the most energy, and the engine is then also operating most of the time outside its most efficient area. Always try to read the road ahead of you, try to see what's happening in front of you, anticipating what might happen and what other road users are doing. If you see the traffic lights, just lift your foot off the gas when you see it's red and try to keep the car moving. see here, from the top of the bridge, it's going down a bit, and 5th gear, and I do nothing. We have current consumption is 0, and we are just building up some momentum going into the underpass, and out of the underpass a little bit uphill, and we don't need any energy. So we're coming to the end now of our trip with Ford Focus on the Ecodriver loop. Unfortunately, due to the low temperatures, the start-stop function of this car hasn't worked. So the engine didn't turn off or switch off when we were at a traffic light. So that cost us a little bit, especially due to the heavy traffic in the city. But coming here to an end, and the board computer says 4.8 liters per 100 kilometers. Well, that's not too bad, and now let's have a look at the details. Let's have a look at the details of our trip on the Ecodriver loop with the Ford Focus station wagon 1.0. The weather was very nice, but flipping cold. Winter tires were in the car as usual during this time of the year. We had the manual 6-speed gearbox. You see the unladen weight, 74 kilowatts, 1 liter engine. The trip time was rather long this time, as this was recorded the day before Christmas Eve, which is a very busy period over here. WLTP consumption was given with 5.4 liters per 100 kilometers, and overall it's the 4.8. If we compare this with the Ford Puma, the car was around 100 kilograms lighter, and the consumption was in and around the 4.8 to 4.7. This shows that this engine per se is very efficient. However, it requires some work in shifting. You have to keep the revs down every time you don't need a lot of power, and this naturally means that you have to do a lot of work with the stick. And to be really efficient and have a good fuel economy, you need to do this in addition to all the other measures that you normally take if you want to save fuel, like reading the road ahead of you, avoid braking and a subsequent re-acceleration, and keep the car in motion as much as possible. If you want to compare this trip with my test on the Ford Puma, you can check this out here. And if you generally like what I'm doing and you're interested in more tests to come, then feel free to subscribe this channel. And if you hit the notification bell, you won't miss any new video. Thanks for watching, take care, and see you next time.